Piers, what's prejudice?
Huh?
What's prejudice?
If you're racially prejudiced, you are a racist.
What's prejudice?
That's what you just called me.
Been learning.
I'm not accepting that. Sorry.
I cannot believe this happened on live TV. Let's watch the clip and then I will react to it.
Picture what would happen if I put on a theatrical production in London and it said it was for whites only, or people identifying as white, which is obviously a ludicrous phrase, but you would go nuts. You would say that is blatant racism, segregation, dragged us kicking and screaming back to the dark days of appalling bigotry. You would.
Well, it depends on the context, right?
There's no whites-only audience.
It depends on the context.
No black people allowed. What would you say?
Well, I think you're perfectly right. It would be akin to racists finding more ways to be more racist.
So why is it okay this way around?
Okay, so we have to put it into context. It was 1 out of the 29 shows.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Let's put it into context, Piers. You want to forget about context. Context is everything. It is 1 out of the 29 shows that was targeted towards black people. And at no point did they say certain people were not excluded. In fact, they actually said it verbatim on their website. No one is excluded, and yet you have found racism.
No. I just read the rest of what they said. It's pretty clear. You are not supposed to go if you're not black.
No, please consider booking other dates.
Right.
Maybe I need to review my Racism 101 course because I thought racism did not have quantity associated with. I thought it was all about treating people differently based on their race. Hold on. Let me check. There it is. According to the Oxford Dictionary, racism is unfair treatment of people who belong to a different race. Violent behavior towards them. Yes, that's what I remember. If you treat people differently even once based on their race, then it's one instance of you being racist. Even if it's 1 out of 29 shows, what if a white or Asian or Middle Eastern person wants to see the show, and that's the only day they can do so? Clearly, you are not giving that person an equal opportunity compared to a black person. This is an unfair disadvantage based on race and is racist. Also, if racism is rampant in society, why would you discourage other races from seeing the show? You should be encouraging, not discouraging, other races to come to the show so that they can learn more about black people and their struggles. I seriously don't understand what these show organizers were thinking. But let's continue watching because it gets better.
Can you see any merit to it?
Of course not. But that's, and I don't even think it makes sense in the American context.
Why is that? If you're talking about safe spaces, because let's just be clear, we're talking about safe spaces.
Because I think
what do you mean safe space? What does that mean?
Okay, so
you wouldn't feel safe if I came along?
No. Again, context. We're talking about a play that was done by black people, for black people,
Americans,
targeted for black people.
So?
So
what?
1 out of the... Again, let's just be clear, because you're clearly not getting this message. It is basically akin to the disabled community putting on 29 shows, and 29 shows about disabilities, and then one of those shows is targeted towards the disabled community. That is what it is akin to, and yet you have a problem. Why is that, Piers? Have you genuinely asked yourself why it's different between disabilities or disabled community or Jewish, but when it comes to black...
My problem is that you have already conceded that if it was the other way round, and this was a whites-only night of this theatrical performance, you would say racist. And that's my problem.
Safe spaces.
It's the
black
double
people
standard.
are disproportionately affected by racism, so therefore it's about safe spaces. This play is about racism, so therefore we should have a safe space for black people as we are disproportionately affected by racism.
I don't think you tackle...
You wouldn't say that to a woman. You wouldn't say that to a woman when she was talking about abuse, and therefore she wanted, and they wanted, and she wanted a safe space.
No, I'm sorry.
Say that.
The idea of safe spaces and black people needing safe spaces is extremely patronising.
But we're talking about racism.
Okay,
let her finish.
What about Asian people? Do Asian people need safe spaces from racism?
When talking about
Asian people...
I'm answering your question.
We don't have this conversation.
Let Esther finish.
No, she just asked me a question, so I'm answering it. When talking about Asian racism, I think they deserve a bit of a safe space. When they're talking about their own experiences...
From black people or from white people?
From all types of people that are going to promote judgment. Because it's about being free of judgment.
Esther, let me ask you...
Free of white judgment, free of Asian judgment, free of all types.
Let somebody else speak, please.
No, I'm going to.
Or we're going to have a safe space where you get removed so that only I can be heard speaking.
Happily, and I'll say bye to you both.
I will have a one night only Piers.
Happily, I'll say bye to you both. I'll see you on Saturday. I'll say bye to you.
I'll have one night of the show where only I am allowed to speak and you're not allowed to, because of your skin colour. How would you like that?
Well, that's called racism.
Exactly my point.
No, it's not.
I mean, the hypocrisy is off the charts here. Piers nailed it with a great on-the-spot example. Bravo, Piers, for such an improv. Kudos to the lady on the left. She clearly points out that not all black people have the same experience. Everyone's experience varies depending on where they were born and raised. Now, you might be saying to yourself that it cannot get any crazier than this, but you would be wrong. Let's continue.
I don't think any form of art should ever be exclusionary on the grounds of skin colour, regardless of who it's targeted to or who it's made by.
We're talking about race equity.
The whole point of art is it should be for everybody.
But we're talking about race equity.
For everybody. No.
Context.
I don't know. It's not right. It's not racially equal about this.
Piers.
It's racially unequal. You're saying no white people can come.
Context.
It's ridiculous.
What's the play about, Piers?
I've heard your art.
What's the play
It
about?
doesn't matter what it's
Yes,
about.
it does.
It
and
doesn't.
that's your issue. You want to negate context. And
No,
there is no
it doesn't
argument
matter if
from both of us without context. You know this, and yet you try to negate it.
No,
every
I don't
single
know
time
this.
here.
No, you
Deal
can't.
with the context. And if you
You
can't deal
can't-
with it, don't come with an
You
argument.
can't tell
deal
me.
with the context.
You can't tell me what I'm
No,
thinking.
exactly. That's
right?
what you do to me.
Or what my opinion
and that's what
is.
people like you do to me.
People like
and
me?
Yes.
What do you mean people like me?
Prejudice. Racially prejudiced people like yourself. That's what you do. That's why we need safe spaces.
You're calling me racially prejudiced?
I've done that several times, Fizz. Why are you surprised?
Why are
What's
you
going
saying
on?
that?
Ignorance doesn't actually suit you.
That's ignorant, actually,
No,
what you
no,
just
it's
said.
not. I've just told you
I'm
that
not
several
racially
times.
prejudiced.
Okay,
and what
so
you just said
what's
is very
prejudice,
offensive.
Piers?
And you
What's
shouldn't be saying
prejudice,
that.
Piers, what's prejudice?
Huh?
What's prejudice?
If you're
You've been
racially
learning.
prejudiced, you are a racist.
What's prejudice?
That's what you just
Have
called
you
me.
been learning? What's
I'm not
prejudice?
accepting that, sorry.
What's prejudice?
Esther, will you go and watch this?
Swiftly
No,
move
but I'm not.
on.
No, I don't think you should be calling me a racist.
Swiftly move
It's ridiculous.
on. I've done it several times, and yet you have a problem.
then you're
with the
wrong
third
every time.
I did it last year. You're talking
Well,
about
good
it
for
today as
you.
if it's a new surprise.
It's
It's
a-
not.
it's
I
a-
told you last year you were racially
it's a
prejudiced, and I'm telling you again
it's a
today.
lazy
and yet
thing
you
to
have no
say.
argument.
It's a
That's
lazy
your
thing to
argument.
say.
Lazy thing to say. Well done.
Because I'm
Piers.
not
You're doing
racially
well.
prejudiced,
You're
never
doing
have
well.
been.
What's racial prejudice, Piers?
It's being a
Answer the
racist.
question. Answer the question.
It's judging
And that's
people
what you do.
prejudicially
That's what you
on their
do.
skin colour.
That's what you
Actually,
do.
rather like
That
what
is
this
what
theatrical
you
production
do.
is doing.
Let's take a moment to process what just happened. When Piers makes a point that everyone should be able to enjoy any form of art irrespective of their race, and she could not come up with a good counter-argument, she not only starts playing the victim, but also calls Piers racially prejudiced. Piers tells her that it means being racist, and it is very offensive, and asks her to stop calling him that. Instead of apologizing to him, she says that she has done it many times in the past. Huh? How does that make it right? What kind of stupid logic is that? It just means he tolerated it in the past. She does not apologize to Piers at all. Not even once, despite Piers clearly explaining it to her multiple times that she has been calling him a racist. Now imagine if the roles were reversed. Piers would have been fired on the spot. Kudos to Piers for keeping his composure and being a professional throughout this nonsense. If you really want to end racism and other unfair treatments, then stop segregating people based on their race, gender, etc. That's the only way to end it. Thanks for watching. And as always, until next time.